do now and in the future, and the goals of the budget situation that we're in. When I was a city council member, it was the 2% or 3% of the tax increment. Now it's 12%, and it's that 12% number is a couple years ago, so I think it may even be bigger than 12%. And in my understanding is there's a huge variation among counties too. Some counties have very little percentage-wise, others a very large percentage-wise. Am I correct? It's a huge difference. So I think that's something to really study quite a bit and make some intelligent decisions about how that money is used, because the property tax is the base for basic local government services, schools, cities, and counties. And how much, I could see the economic development argument because I actually have used it, and I think it's very important that we measure how we approach this very carefully. And it's not a black and white issue at all. I think it's an issue that requires a little bit of sophistication, maybe, and some understanding of the issue.
Thank you. Assemblymember Dickinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to express my appreciation to Ms. Dozier for being here this afternoon. I regret that I missed her prepared remarks, but having served for nearly 17 years as a member of the governing board of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Authority, I think I have a pretty good idea of what she probably said. The comment that that this is not an issue, redevelopment is not a matter of statewide interest, is not a proposition I accept. I think the health and vitality of our local communities is absolutely an issue of statewide importance. However, that doesn't mean that this isn't a necessary discussion to have. I think there are a lot of things that we're talking about in terms of the governor's budget and reductions that are proposed that are also very much of statewide importance and significant interest. So it seems to me that nothing in the current circumstances is entitled to a pass. We've got to take a look at the entire spectrum of activities. What I think will make sense ultimately, there's not, by the way, a question here, just a quick comment and more a request than anything else. What I think makes sense here is for those, Mr. Bell made a couple suggestions, others have surfaced suggestions, how to avoid the state having to backfill the money to schools in particular. What we're looking for, I think, is a necessity of creativity in these times. And so for those who have come to stand on the rock of redevelopment and simply say no, that's not going to get anybody very far. We're going to have to look at some different approaches, and I think Proposition 22 makes that discussion more difficult, not easier, because it makes it harder to have amend it, don't end it kind of dialogue. But redevelopment can be an agent looking to the future for accomplishing smart growth results for communities and for the state, something clearly in a statewide interest. So this is too important, on the other hand, just to dismiss as a growing share of local property tax that is disturbing. It's something to be examined, but there are a lot of instances where redevelopment has served very useful and vital purposes for communities. It's crafting something that helps us get to a budget solution and preserves the prerogatives of communities to make good use of their resources in order to accomplish goals that are both local and statewide in import. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Campos.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for your comments and your ideas and suggestions around this whole issue. I think it's an important issue to be having a very serious and hopefully thoughtful conversation. As a member that just came from local government, I think that the interesting thing as I listen to the dialogue that has been happening today is that we all come with different experiences about redevelopment. Some are good, some are different, and some are great experiences. I think one of the things that I am hoping to be able to contribute to this conversation is what we can find out that redevelopment has done well and what we can improve on the whole concept of how redevelopment can do better. I know that earlier in the conversation they said they didn't have concrete evidence that showed about redevelopment being able to create jobs in different entities. And so I guess one of the questions that I would like to be able to have information on is, I come from an area where, and I think earlier we had someone that spoke from the redevelopment agency in San Jose that talked about how many jobs and how many businesses we were able to retain by partnering with them through redevelopment. I think it's important to know how many companies in the state of California have been able to stay here in California because of the assistance of redevelopment. And I don't know if you have the number of how many jobs we've been able to create in the state of California. I know that each city probably has those numbers, as we heard someone from San Jose State earlier about what jobs were created. But I also want to share from a personal note about redevelopment, whether it's working in every city. I'm not sure whether it's working in every business area. I'm not sure. But I know that as someone that worked with redevelopment for the past 10 years, it really transformed certain communities that I'm from that were poor in resources. And what I learned from that experience is that you not only create an economic engine, but you're able to also remove crime within certain communities when you have crime that has ridden certain neighborhoods. And for me, one of the biggest things that we were able to do in San Jose, and Jim and I share San Jose, is that we were able to create a tax revenue of 105% within a 1 mile radius because of redevelopment. Now, that may be an exception, but that's the world that I come from. And so I think it's important to be able to have some of these other numbers, and I don't know if your agency can get those. And so I'll stop there and let you answer any of the questions that I have proposed.
Well, in terms of the job data that you're looking for, I think that is something that the State Controller's Office in their audits that are coming up are trying to pull that information. It's not something that is collected consistently, but I think if you're starting to look at what does redevelopment look like going forward, what are some of the things that you want to see in terms of data and information, is definitely something that should be put out there so that you have consistency in reporting of that information across the board for all agencies. So I would recommend that that is something that should be pursued in the future for redevelopment agencies, because it is not necessarily required. The information in terms of job data is usually collected on a jurisdiction by jurisdictional basis. So when we look at Sacramento, and if we look at kind of how much money that we have left, and we use just our methodology to calculate on average what is lost, it would be 19,000 jobs lost if we just cut off everything with redevelopment right now. So that gives you the order of magnitude for a city of our size. But I could not speak, obviously, to the other cities.
Okay, thank you.
I would encourage you, when you ask the state controller for that data, when you consider moving forward, to also require redevelopment agencies, if they continue to exist, to report where jobs came from before they came into a redevelopment agency. There is a gentleman from the Teamsters Union, for example, who testified after the last panel about a firm that's eliminating union jobs in Brisbane, moving to an enterprise zone, which is probably also in a redevelopment area in Visalia, where I grew up, and for lower paid jobs. So in that case, no net gain of jobs, but you're taking high-wage jobs, higher income tax payments to the state of California, moving them to an area with an extremely high unemployment rate, same number of jobs at a lower pay. So, again, it's always important to make sure that you get that net number, not a gross number.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Assemblymember Perea.
Sure, just briefly, just more of a comment than as a question, and really it's just to expand a little bit on comments made by my colleague, Assemblymember Dickinson, and that is, if there were ever a time for redevelopment agencies and all stakeholders involved to think about a possible third way, now is the time. There are no sacred cows when we're dealing with a $24-25 billion budget deficit, so certainly the hard questions have to be asked of everybody, in every piece of this budget. And so if there were an opportunity to start thinking about creative ideas, are there opportunities to emulate the housing set-aside and perhaps create a set-aside for schools or a set-aside for public safety, to help fulfill some of the funding gaps for cities in other ways. Now might be that opportunity to have those tough conversations, to see realistically what could be put on the table and what could be workable to not only deal with our current budget crisis, but also moving forward in helping cities, continue to use redevelopment as a tool to create jobs. I can tell you, the week before I was sworn in to this job, I was still a member of the Fresno City Council, and that week we used a portion of redevelopment funds to help break ground on a park for an inner city that had not has not had a new park built in this particular area in over 40 years, and there is literally no access to any sort of green space in this particular area because the environment is completely built. And so because of redevelopment funds, we were able to partner and leverage that with city dollars to break ground on some regional park space. And so I think that's important that we recognize that redevelopment agencies have been used for many good things. I can tell you 8 years ago when I first got on the Fresno City Council that we used redevelopment funds to build Fresno's first mixed-use downtown housing project, which has now led to 8 projects within just a 2 to 3 block radius, and has created hundreds of construction jobs in an area where Fresno County has an 18% unemployment rate, and some of the towns like Mendota and Firebaugh have almost 50% unemployment rates in their communities. And so to see redevelopment agencies, when we talk about redevelopment agencies and the future of them, we need to have an honest conversation about creating that third way and creating opportunities to deal with our budget crisis, but also allowing redevelopment agencies to move forward in a way that allows them to create jobs. And so just wanted to echo those comments. Thank you.
And one more quick comment, because we do have public comment. Assemblymember Nordby.
Predatory sales tax chasing. I think one of the distortions redevelopment agencies have created is the chasing of sales tax. Agencies will gladly give up hundreds of thousands in property tax increment if they can get some of the sales tax back, because cities can use sales tax for their general fund and they can't use the agency money for that. I think if we look at this within the context of trying to address the sales tax inequities in the state, some type of formula where cities aren't so reliant on sales tax, and now with all this internet sales competing with brick and mortar, the sales tax itself may be obsolete. And so the predatory nature of redevelopment agencies, maybe some of you can address. I know right now San Jose is using redevelopment money to try to steal the A's away from Oakland. Santa Clara wants the 49ers. So the use of public money simply to move businesses within the state is something I think needs to be addressed. Number two was asked about the sustainability of the tax increment. Right now, some counties have as much as a third of their property taxes going for tax increment. Can there be a cap on that? That wasn't addressed. And also the issue of affordable housing. I don't know if anybody has any statistics on how many housing units have been destroyed by redevelopment agencies, but I know a lot of agencies have been very aggressive in land clearance projects right in my own district, City of Anaheim, Santa Ana, nearby in Orange County. And I don't know what the balance sheet is there, but it ought to be looked at.
All right, that's basically a comment. All right. This is what I'm going to ask of you, because clearly we have as many or more to speak on RDAs as we do for enterprise zones. And what I would ask is this, because all of us have heard from people we represent, and we know about great projects that are going on in our communities. So what I would ask, if possible, if you could come up to the mic and be brief, potentially state your name, the agency you're representing, and whether or not you support or don't support the governor's proposal, and then also take time to contact your individual assembly members so they have a clear understanding of your position. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairman, and all members of the committee. This has been a long day, and I won't belabor too long. I'm Supervisor John Benoit, formerly Senator, Assemblyman. I've sat where you're sitting. I know these days I feel like, and I have many friends there. I appreciate that. I now represent Riverside County. Riverside County is the largest county RDA in the state. And I'm here to tell you that it's incredibly important to the benefit of Riverside County residents. We have created 8,700 jobs on average every year for the last several years using RDA funding. We have improved the lot of many people in some of our most needy neighborhoods. I submit to you that if you come visit me in Mecca, California, you'd see a different kind of California. This community had no way to put in new streets, new parks. I appreciate Mr. Pereira's comments. I mean, this place had no other hope. It now has new streets, new water, new health clinic. These are all developments of RDA. A very interesting development 3 weeks ago, a company called MPV out of China just invested $331 million in this country, wrote the check, came to Riverside, will be building green RVs that are going to be actually using alternative power sources, bringing at least 2,000 jobs. They wouldn't have been able to do it if we couldn't invest a couple $1 million in streets and improvements around that development.
Supervisor, I appreciate all it's done for your county, but if everyone takes 2 or 3 minutes, we'll be here 7:30 or so tonight. So I think we can assume that given the size of the RDA in Riverside County and the fact that you're here, that you strongly support keeping the RDA as first. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, Christy Baumer representing the California Professional Firefighters. Chairman Perea, I was in the other house's hearing and I was at the end of that line, so I couldn't be happier to be brief, but to tell you that I was also in the minority in my comments, which is, I represent firefighters in the state, particularly fire districts, who are involuntary contributors to redevelopment. We have no say on what goes out of our budgets. We're relying on 20-year-old property tax base. We don't benefit from improved retail sales because all we get is property tax and it's 20 years old. So I think what the governor's proposal is asking you to do most appropriately is, what is government supposed to do for its people and what are its core functions, and you start there. Do you have enough money to provide public safety services to your communities? Then you look at other ways of improving your communities, and this money in redevelopment agencies is not magic money. It's coming from all of the surrounding taxing entities. So maybe the word redevelopment still has some real value. Affordable housing has tremendous value. but are redevelopment agencies the method by which you improve your communities? I would not presume that they are the right governance mechanism to deliver those services.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Linda Barton. I'm the city manager of the city of Livermore and the president of the California Redevelopment Association. One of the things that we are struggling with is something that you've been talking about, which is alternatives. It's very difficult to present alternatives when we don't have anything in front of us. There is no specific bill. There's one line in the statements that the governor has made, but we would really like to see the specifics of this so we can talk about alternatives. We strongly believe that there are significant constitutional and other legal impediments to this proposal. Just to answer a couple of the questions that came up, the California Redevelopment Association has done work to look at the number of jobs created. And we're looking at 300,000 jobs. Those are construction jobs, not jobs that are moved around in communities, but construction jobs that result from the work that redevelopment agencies do. And $40 billion in economic activity, which is very important and significant to the state and to all of our communities. $2 billion in state and local taxes could be lost, taxes in addition to property tax. So you're trading off $1.7 billion for $2 billion that's going to be lost. We think that the argument pitting schools against good jobs is a false argument. We need both, and we want to work together with you to try to find some solutions here.
Thank you.
Been proactive on reforms, and we would like to continue to define those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, to the extent any of you could just let us know your organization and whether or not you support the governor's proposal, that would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, some of you speak now, and others of you may not be speaking till 7 o'clock tonight. So we appreciate any concise comments you can give us. Thank you.
I'll try to make this very brief. I'm Gus Kaler from Time Structures. We've done all the research for the California Redevelopment Association, including arriving at the number of jobs. We want to point out that for every dollar that you take, you're only going to get 35 cents back for dealing with the governor's problem. We've also done a great deal of research around how effective redevelopment is, looking at it nationally. We have a study which we can provide you with. We also want to point out that affordable housing is absolutely critical to low-income people like in Silicon Valley, and it's a major problem with attracting industries to our state. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you want to provide us with any of the research, I will be sure that members get a copy of it. Thank you.
My name is Aurelius Walker, and the language that I understand that's used as far as the governor's proposal is concerned, they talk about destroy and eliminate. Destroy and eliminate. It terrified me because the project in San Francisco, we are opposed to build 10,000 homes and a humongous amount of jobs, and we cannot support that. We are for a mitigation and working something out, but being eliminated and destroy, we in San Francisco do not support that particular point. But if we mitigate somewhere where it's going to be a mutual interest for the development like it is now, and we're sensitive about the budget for the state. We're sensitive about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The mic, okay. Madam Chair, good afternoon. My name is Linda Richardson, San Francisco Project Area Committee. The San Francisco Redevelopment Agency has been the agent of smart growth and economic engine for my community in San Francisco for decades. The city of San Francisco for almost 70 years has neglected the southeast sector of San Francisco, which is where the poor white, Latino, Asian American, African American community reside. If not for the help of the Redevelopment Agency, we will not have business attraction to our district. And so we've been working for the last 20 years with the Development Agency to bring about transportation infrastructure to our community to attract new businesses. As a result, we have in the pipeline almost 20,000 jobs that will be created that the union will benefit from, and also community of San Francisco at large.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Pastor Josiah Bell from San Francisco, and I'm here on behalf of the Lord Jesus Christ. You are faced with a dilemma as the wise man Solomon was faced with when he was asked to kill a child because two people disputed over who the child belonged to. You have that same dilemma. Kill off all of these jobs, kill off all the hopes, kill off all the aspirations for the people who you represent in this state. And I say to you, no, do not go along with the governor's program. There is a way that we can work it out. And you are the ones that can utilize that wisdom. Thank you, and God bless you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Caesar Churchwell, San Francisco. I'm the Vice President of the San Francisco African American Chamber of Commerce. Two words I keep hearing over and over: benefits and the proper use of the redevelopment funds. Now, we all know what that means. So, therefore, we have jobs, projects on the board that has started. So we were asked to let these jobs be completed. Also, we have jobs on the drawing board that should be completed. These all have to do with jobs, housing, affordable housing, and daycare health centers. Now, I will ask you to consider all of these different benefits that redevelopment offer, and I would like at this time to have all the people that came down from from San Francisco to stand up so you can see that we're represented here.
Thank you very much, and thank you. Next speaker.
Hello, I'm not from San Francisco, I'm from El Sobrante. I'm also a follower of Jesus Christ, and I do believe he said, move not the ancient boundary stone. I believe the redevelopment agency are a big attack on private property rights. They take massive amount of lands out of private hands, and by that I mean individual property owners who live in their properties, and they place it in the hands of government public-private partnerships. I agree with the governor's plan to shut down the state redevelopment agencies, but I wish he'd go further and advocate the prohibition of the entire Ponzi scheme called redevelopment. I live in an unincorporated area of Contra Costa, and the County Board of Supervisors has been brutal in implementing redevelopment areas. Their redevelopment bonds have been downgraded to junk bond status. They spent nearly a third of their current deficit on administrative costs. In our area, there is no need for affordable housing. We have an abundant supply of tidy apartments and single-family homes available that are owned by in the private sector. I think government has an agenda to take as much property out of the private area and place it under government control. I'm against redevelopment in its entire concept. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair, committee members. Jeff Graham, Vice President of Redevelopment for Center City Development Corporation. We're the redevelopment arm for the Downtown San Diego Redevelopment Agency. We have created over 62,000 construction jobs and 23,000 permanent jobs since redevelopment began in downtown San Diego. We are very much opposed to the governor's proposal. However, we are open to considering some variations in reform. We have had an 8.4 to 1 private to public investment ratio, and we have done tremendous things to renovate downtown from a blighted area where no one wanted to go live or work to a place where we have millions of visitors who come to visit San Diego every year that spent their dollars here in hotel rooms, sales tax, and so on. So we hope that you will give this some serious consideration, that not all agencies are considered equal or perform equally, and that that maybe something needs to be done to reform but not throw out the entire system. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members, Julie Snyder, I'm here on behalf of Housing California. Our nonprofit members build affordable places to live for low and moderate income Californians. And we are gravely concerned about the governor's current proposal because it would eliminate the largest state or local funding source in affordable homes, in apartments and single-family homes, and that's more than $1 billion annually. We've heard what you have said, committee members and other committees. We are developing other alternatives to retain the $1 billion in public investment, and we hope to be able to share those with you this week. We hope you'll strongly consider them. I think you already know this, but next to food, adequate shelter is the most fundamental of human needs. The governor charged all of us with thinking about what the core functions of government should be in this time, and we urge you to stand up for the idea that a core function is, in fact, preventing homelessness among families, which are the fastest growing segment of our homeless population, among people with disabilities and seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. I can assure you that all of us look forward to getting your proposal and any others.
Good afternoon. My name is Jean Heinel. I am with Californians United for Redevelopment Education. I come from Southgate, and I have like 4 pages of information here, but I'm only going to read like 10 sentences. I became involved in redevelopment in Southgate in 1991. I was on a project area committee, and we voted it out. And then 2009, the city brought it back without eminent domain, so it did pass, but there was no project area committee. And then in the city of Riverside, the city created an 8,000-acre project area, which included my 4 acres rural property. And we did a lawsuit and eventually had to settle because the citizens didn't have the time or the money to fight the city. And they did allow 1,000 brand new homes in the Riverwalk, which increased the amount of money that the agency got. But they took out a little bit of the land, but then they put in owner-occupied, exempt from eminent domain.
Thank you. If you would like to provide us with a copy of those 4 pages, I will be sure that they're distributed to all the committee members. And then some of you may notice that we're starting to lose our audience up here. So I know I keep reminding you, but for those at the end, I don't think they want to be there just speaking to me and Assemblymember Perea. So, we know that there are, again, I want to reiterate, we know that every city can point to great redevelopment projects that have changed the character of the city. So if you could just state, your name, who you represent, and whether or not you support the governor's proposal, that would ensure that the people at the very end of the line also have an audience. So thank you very much. And the other thing is to the extent that you want to provide any written comments, if you will provide them to my office, I can assure you that I will have them distributed to all of the members. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Slater Carter. I am a small business owner, and I also am an elected. Speaking as an individual, I am on the Montera Water and Sanitary District in the little tiny community of Montera. I had a bunch of things to say, but I'm just going to point out that all of the great redevelopment projects of the past are simply that, the past. We're in a new economic reality where the counties are being asked to take on more and more with fewer dollars. I support Assemblymember Norby's suggestion that we need to be taking a look at new tax structures, and I would recommend that in supporting the governor on this item that the Assembly and the Senate move forward to looking at some new taxation structures that are fair to the people who pay the taxes, every single citizen of California. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, if we could possibly state your name, who you represent, and whether or not you support or oppose the governor's proposal, that would be great. And then provide us with any comments. I would be happy to distribute them.
Can I speak? Yeah. I'm Gretchen Lippo. I'm from Alameda, a city in the East Bay. I'm only going to say I support the governor's proposal. We've lost 100 teachers in the last 2 years. We lost a parcel tax. We're going for another parcel tax. We're 43rd in the nation in public school funding. We've got to do something. And I want to say redevelopment's been hidden. It's got to be brought up on the radar screen. And I'll send you my testimony so you won't have to listen to me anymore.
Thank you very much.
Sherry Curtis, and I'm representing the Motherlode Tea Party and a board member of MORE, Municipal Officials of Redevelopment Reform. One thing I just want to let you know is that there's one State Department that is not represented here that I think you need to get a copy of, each and every one of you who make budget decisions, because the amount of indebtedness, total indebtedness, is over $93 billion that redevelopment agencies have already amassed. And so if you want to know what your projects are, the debt they owe, how much they've spent, and what's been going on, this report should be included in your financial analysis. We are supporting greatly the governor's proposal because redevelopment hasn't shown that there's one agency that have ended but put back the property taxes they collected into the general funds for the cities, counties, and special districts. Thank you. And I will.
Thank you. And once again, if it's at all possible to state your name, who you represent, and whether you support or oppose the governor's proposal, it would be greatly appreciated because the line keeps growing at the other end. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Assembly. My name is Kofi Sefa Boachi. I'm the Redevelopment Director of the City of Compton. I represent the city and indicate that we oppose the proposed Governor Brown's proposal to abolish the redevelopment agency in the enterprise zone. I think that as we have listened, there's a whole area that has been overlooked, and I will indicate the historical context which caused the establishment of redevelopment agencies have been overlooked, and the city of Compton has an untold story which we submitted in the testimony. And I wish I had enough time. We could have talked about how the city and the state will all benefit if we can come up with some compromise to help both parties.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Leslie Corselia, Director of Housing for the City of San Jose. The City of San Jose City Council strongly opposes the governor's proposal for various reasons, but I had one statement. Redevelopment funding is the only game in town for affordable housing. There's no permanent source of funding for affordable housing if this goes away. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members, good evening. I'm Mike Gardner. I'm a City Council member in the City of Riverside. I'm also chair of our redevelopment agency. I've written testimony I'll leave that has all the numbers, so I'd like to make just two very brief points. One, like Sacramento, Riverside is an older city. We are pretty well built out. We don't have undeveloped areas. Anything new, we have to take something down, likely remediate pollution before you can build the new. That's very expensive. You can't do it without something like redevelopment. Second point is smart growth. We want to build concentrations of people. We want people to be near public transit. And again, without redevelopment, we cannot do that because of the underlying costs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the line keeps growing. We've got members who are leaving, and many of these points are being made over and over again. So please state your name, who you represent, and whether you support or oppose the governor's recommendations. If you have comments or would like to send comments, I will ensure that they are sent to all of the members, and I encourage all of you to contact your local representative as well.
Members of the committee, I hope to present a new perspective, two new perspectives. One as a real estate developer, the other as a former school board trustee. My name is Doug Kaplan, and for nearly 25 years, I have been attending meetings of my trade association, often co-hosted by the California Redevelopment Association, during which we learned how to extract maximum subsidies from cities that wanted us to build Walmarts, Home Depots, shopping centers in their towns and not in their neighbors. At these meetings, we were introduced to the consultants who knew how to characterize our prime commercial sites as blighted. And during this same period, I've also, as I said, been a school board trustee. When we tried, I remember very well, 3 times before we successfully passed a school bond. And meanwhile, our local redevelopment agency, without any effort whatsoever, they don't need a vote of the people, was floating bonds and spending money to subsidize a Gottschalk's department store, a Red Roof Inn, an Ace Hardware store, and even a Burger King. We couldn't raise money to build new schools.
Can you please state whether you support or oppose the governor's proposal, please? like I said, the end of the line keeps going. So for the people at the end, and I was a school board member for 18 years and took 3 times to pass a bond, so I'm very sympathetic with what you're saying, but I'm also trying to be respectful for the people at the end of the line who, like I said, will not be speaking to any members if each person speaks for 1 to 2 minutes.
Thank you. Very much I support the governor's proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, members of the committee. Rochelle Swanson, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Davis, and we have adopted a resolution opposing the governor's current proposal. However, I do believe that minds can prevail. I don't agree that schools and redevelopment have to be opposed to one another. I think in communities we can work together. We simply ask that you use the most current data possible, and I'm glad to hear that most of you have been asking for that, and that you look at the net revenue to the state should redevelopment been taken to backfill the $2 billion, looking at all the encumbrances and the potential additional bureaucracy that would be.
Thank you.
Chair Buchanan, Karen Klinger, local real estate broker. This is my only opportunity to speak, and I believe that 3 minutes should be adequate. I've been here since 11:30 this morning. I haven't had lunch, and I have to tell you, if you have to sit there till 7 or 7:30, that is your job. And I want to tell you that I feel very upset that you as our state representatives are not willing to hear what we have to say. We have been abused by these unknown governments, and it is time they're shut down. I want to tell you that I've heard a lot of comments made today. What should property taxes be used for? Certainly not for corporate welfare. And I have to tell you that as Ms. Dozier spoke today, since 07-09, there have been no jobs created. And when the San Jose people were talking about project areas, there's no transparency whatsoever on what's going on with those unknown governments. Sacramento City of Sacramento, 60-year-old project area. It still has a $500 million debt, and that doesn't include the rail yard. It will never go away. Walnut Grove may be a project area, and it is still active. It is still in the controller's book. If you don't have this book, you are not representing your constituents. And I have to tell you that redevelopment agencies must be shut down, and Prop 13 was created because the government was not protecting the people because of redevelopment agencies. Proposition 22, the people were so confused, you should have polled that proposition, because the redevelopment agencies are the ones that steal from the people, not the other way around.
Thank you very much.
The governor, thank you.
Madam Chair, my name is Don Reynolds from the City of Salinas. Our City Council has adopted a resolution in opposition to the governor's proposal. We are not building big boxes or car dealerships. We're building the National Steinbeck Center. We're redeveloping our Chinatown, preserving historic resources, and developing an intermodal transportation center. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Brian Augusta on behalf of the California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation and our colleagues at Western Center on Law and Poverty. In deference to the chair's request, I will just say that our position on the governor's proposal is that whether or not redevelopment agencies survive, there is not currently a proposal in the governor's proposal to address what becomes of that $1 billion in affordable housing that is so critical to our state. We hope to have something to you so that that can be added to the discussion, because I think it's very critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Durian, City of Richmond, Richmond Community Redevelopment Agency. We're opposed to the governor's proposal. One point, the assertion that redevelopment agencies are taking money from schools and special districts shouldn't be taken at face value. Marina Bay in Richmond was a brownfield, deteriorated shipyard where we used to put together ships and tanks and jeeps, and it was worth less than nothing before $50 million of redevelopment agency money was spent there. Now it's thousands of homes, thousands of jobs, a beautiful marina and bay trails, and so redevelopment creates greater property values for all of us.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Aquinetta Warren, City of Fontana, also representing a newly formed coalition of 56 cities in the Inland Empire, encompassing San Bernardino and Riverside. And we would like to offer that you come and take a tour of what works in redevelopment. Our unemployment rate in those two counties is 15%. This is our only economic tool. Remember, redevelopment supports family. It is not a corporate welfare program. It is a community well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Ann Schwab, Mayor of the City of Chico, the proud hometown of Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers. In the last 2 years alone, key redevelopment projects have created over 800 construction jobs in our community. Redevelopment has helped fund our police and fire facilities, and we depend on redevelopment to fund future facilities. I urge you to retain the most significant tool we have to create jobs, grow our local economy, and improve our ability to meet public safety needs in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kathy Davis, Bayview Hunters Point Project Area Committee. I oppose the governor's budget request because for 20 years we've been working in Bayview Hunters Point to prove that we were blighted, even though you could drive through and figure that out, and to make sure that we had the plans ready. Our plans are ready. We are ready to go. We have projects in the pipeline. We have projects that are ready to be in the pipeline, and we're concerned that all the work and all the time and energy that we put into this is going to go to waste, and that just cannot happen. The hopes of the people who are counting on us cannot be dashed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Jones. I'm the president of Westside Courts Housing Project in San Francisco. We're also under construction of revitalization, and I feel that if you take away the redevelopment, where's our hope? Where's our dream is going to be? Now it's Hope SF. Where's our dream is going to come? It's we hope instead of dreams. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the Assembly. My name is Brian Pendleton. I'm a board member of AFSCME Local 1890 and a project manager with CRA LA. I'm here to tell you that in the San Fernando Valley where I work, redevelopment with our local partners is preschool, public education, social services, affordable housing, and support for small business. I'm opposed to the governor's proposal to eliminate redevelopment agencies throughout the state, and will be glad to provide you my testimony.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Michael Miller. I'm a senior finance officer for the Community Redevelopment Agency, the City of Los Angeles, and a board member of AFSCME Local 585. We oppose the governor's position.
Thank you.
I will be brief. Estelle Lemieux with the California Teachers Association, and we support the governor's proposal back at package deal.
Thank you very much.
My name is Stephen Rhodes of Santa Ana Unified School District. We support the governor's proposal. When you have a shift of about $3 billion every year in property taxes, somebody's got to pay for it.
Thank you.
My name is Ken Payne, president of the Sacramento County Taxpayers League, speaking in support of the governor's proposal. With the city and county budgets about $200 million in deficit, it would amending the RDAs would go a long ways in solving that problem. So we're supporting the governor.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Valerie Kane with EAH Housing. I'm here to oppose the governor's proposal in support of eliminating redevelopment agencies to really look at what the elimination will do to affordable housing funds. I'll submit my written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Mark Brown, councilman from town of Truckee and member of the redevelopment area. We have a redevelopment area in our town that's going to be doubling our downtown. We want to support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Janet Kern, Deputy Executive Director from the San Jose Redevelopment Agency, and our council and agency board is opposed to the governor's recommendation. And I just ask that something this serious not be done lightly and with misinformation and limited information, which is what we're hearing.
Thank you.
Richard Lyon, California Building Industry Association. We don't believe that elimination of RDAs is a good idea, although we are interested in seeing further details from the governor. I wanted to focus on something that Assemblymember Dickinson said. We've adopted SB 375 as an important landmark legislation in this state to better align transportation, housing, and land use decisions and achieve our climate objectives, and it's very difficult to see how we could do that without mechanisms like redevelopment to be able to penetrate those challenging urban markets. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Diana Ertel. I recently completed 19 years of service on a Citizens Advisory Committee promoting the redevelopment of the Hunters Point Shipyard in San Francisco. It's a Superfund site, which kind of explains the 19 years, and it's still going. This kind of thing does not happen overnight. The redevelopment process has helped provide continuity. Mayors come and go, supervisors come and go, but the project still remains, and citizens have been involved all along. That interaction between redevelopment and citizens is productive. It helps us keep our eyes on the prize. If redevelopment money goes away and goes to the San Francisco General Fund, it's gone. It's not coming back to our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Water and pouring it in a swimming pool. And we don't need no stinking mermaids either.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Oscar James. I'm from Bayview Hunters Point. I do not support the governor's proposal for the redevelopment agency. Our redevelopment agency in Bayview Hunters Point is very important for the young people in our community to create jobs and business opportunities. Thank you. Do not support the governors. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Anna Dowles, and I am the community steward of Alice Griffith Housing Development in San Francisco. And we're very distressed right now, and we are a public housing project, and the redevelopment of Alice Griffith is a critical component of overall Hunters Point Shipyard Candlestick Point development project. The 256 unit site is currently fully occupied and is a home of 579 people today. The redevelopment plan for the site calls for one-for-one replacement of the existing units, plus the additional of another 248 new affordable family rental units. These new units would serve almost 1,500 people.
Thank you very much. Folks, the line is still growing, so to the extent you can keep it brief, and I apologize because I would love to just go on and have more dialogue, but we're not going to solve the problem today. It's an informational hearing, and again, I want to be sure that the people in the back have members here that they're addressing as well.
Chairwoman Buchanan, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Kathy DeRosa. I am the mayor of the city of Cathedral City, representing 55,000 residents. We have clear and concise evidence how redevelopment has not only helped our community, but has built our community. We are a brand new city. We are just celebrating our 30th anniversary, and if it were not for redevelopment agency, we would have those living in substandard housing, and we would have those residents that have no sewer systems. So I will leave this, and we have great angst over this whole thing, and there will be a great profound impacts to Cathedral City if redevelopment goes away. We ask for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Cindy Trobitz Thomas. I'm the Director of Redevelopment and Housing for the City of Eureka, and we are respectfully requesting that you do not eliminate redevelopment. It's been a vital component of our economic development, health in the community, and I invite any of you to come up and see what we've done. We're very proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Tom Hanson, the mayor of the city of Paramount. Madam Chair and committee members that are still here, we appreciate you being here, actually. Our city was blighted severely. We are now vibrant. Speaking to the schools, we have, through capital projects and joint use projects, we've got over $5 million that have benefited our schools in town, and therefore we are against the governor's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Mark Walensky with the City of Roseville Redevelopment Agency. Wanted to let you know that the City Council has passed a resolution opposing the governor's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kirk Blackburn of Ellison Wilson Advocacy, representing the cities of Inglewood, Temecula, Santee, El Cajon, and El Centro, all of which share fundamental concerns with the governor's proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mary Jackson. I'm a city council member in Turlock. I'm asking you to at least look at the enterprise zones and the redevelopment, because if you live in the San Joaquin Valley, all of our counties have double-digit employment. We do have areas of blight, and we use that money to fix them. I take concern with the LEO's report. She said 10 to 20% of the RDA money from property tax goes to the cities. In Turlock, it was 8.6, and with our pass-through agreements, which were either formula or negotiated, our school district gets 11% of that.
The governor representatives tell you that this is not going to affect public safety. Well, I disagree. In the last 3 years, we are building a $3.2 million fire station and a $33 million public safety center that has been planning stages for 4 years. Without redevelopment money, those projects wouldn't be built. The more important thing is getting crime-ridden neighborhoods cleaned up. We spent $250,000 of redevelopment agency on a water feature. It is completely, in a year, cleared out the gangs, the drugs. You know what I'm talking about.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, my name is Daniel Dodge. I'm the mayor of the city of Watsonville. As you know, redevelopment is the second largest funder of affordable homes in California. The city of Watsonville has spent $12.5 million on affordable housing projects and $3.6 million on first-time home buyer loans since 1997. This will all end if redevelopment goes away. We request that you reject this proposal today.
Thank you.
Good evening. John Haig, Redevelopment Manager, Sonoma County Redevelopment Agency. Redevelopment works in Sonoma County. We oppose the governor's budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Lola Widow, Executive Director of Renaissance Entrepreneurship Center, resident of Bayview Hunters Point. First time, one of the first businesses to receive a loan from the redevelopment agency to start a business that I had for 20 years in the redevelopment agency's district now in Bayview Hunters Point. I oppose the governor's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members, Cesar Diaz on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. I'm not going to emphasize the need for construction jobs. You already know the numbers. Our members are experiencing severe unemployment rates statewide. We're at 30 to 40%. A lot of it is people that are underemployed or employed are working because of redevelopment agency dollars. There's value added to that. If you look at the city of Los Angeles, they have a community benefits agreement, puts people from disadvantaged communities into these jobs, actually places them in a career. So I understand that there's a lot of difficult choices, and there's opportunity here to reform and change RDAs and make them improve them so that they're not, experiencing some of the problems that were cited here earlier. But a complete elimination is just disastrous for the members of the building trades. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rob Ratto. I'm the Executive Director of the Park Street Business Association in Alameda, California, which is a little island next to Oakland. And we are against a 100% cut and redevelopment. We hope the Assembly, the Senate, and Governor Brown can come to some sort of compromise. And as a speaker earlier under the enterprise zone discussion said, we're all in this together, and we are. And when you're in something together, everybody takes a hit. You don't cut something 100%. That provides this type of economic stimulus for local communities. And personally, as a voter of the city of, in the state of California, listening to the people that are making recommendations to you, apparently based on very little data, 60 years of redevelopment, and the gentleman said, well, we have very little data. Maybe they need to get a lot more data on what's going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve Koffroth with the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. We represent a number of employees, including at the CRA of Los Angeles, including members across the state and other cities and counties. And just rise in opposition to the governor's proposal. Did, however, want to cite a couple of things. There is data. In fact, Assemblymember Norby referred to the 98 report that's cited in the governor's budget, and I just wanted to read that to you. In comparing the redevelopment areas to matched areas that were not in redevelopment, 6 projects grew by over 400%, but no matched area did. 15 projects more than tripled their assessed value when only 2 matches did. The mean assessed value growth in project areas was 270%, compared with an average of 144% growth in the matched areas. 2/3 of projects, 27 out of the 38 pairs, actually had faster growth in assessed value than their matches did. This means that in most cases, redevelopment did have a positive effect on the assessed value growth in the project areas. That's on page 62 of that report, if you would like that. There have been 2 reports since then that have been published, one by the UC Santa Cruz in 2003, which affirms the value that redevelopment has given. Another report that confirmed those findings in 2006. There are other alternatives to ending redevelopment.
Thank you. And if any information you want to provide us, I'm happy to distribute to the other members.
Good evening, committee members. My name is Michelle Banks-Verdone. I'm a member of Ask Me Local Number 1890, as well as the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Los Angeles. Just want to let you know this is not a choice between redevelopment and or some of the social services that you want to cut. Redevelopment is, in fact, a capital investment in a number of those social services, and we provide that through a number of the projects that we have, such as the Hobart Apartments project in our Wilshire Center Koreatown project area, where, in fact, at our grand opening, Senora Carolina Flores, a woman who had to sacrifice and carry her daughter on her back up and down stairs until she had the opportunity to have a handicap unit at this particular facility, spoke out and said how this was a life-changing, altering event for both her and her daughter. Her daughter now has mastered her wheelchair, and not only that, but in the fully furnished computer room and the social center that is there, she has mastered the computer as well as the internet, and now Senora Flores is trying to keep up with her daughter. That is the type of change that you're going to lose if, in fact, you don't retain, reform redevelopment, and not dismantle. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Jose Trujillo. I work with the Community Redevelopment Agency in Los Angeles, and I work with several levels of law enforcement. How do we help law enforcement? We help probation officers, the Los Angeles Police Department, Fire Department, the school district police departments, and many others, providing them with decent, safe, and sanitary housing for people that needs it, for people that need to advance, like, for example, mental health. We need to house those people. People with American with disabilities, they need to be housed. If you don't have that, then the crime element goes up. Good comparison. Look at the Nickerson Gardens, other places that do not have redevelopment funds. The crime, the homicides, murders, it's up. But if you go to our projects, they're supervised and the crime is down to minimum. We got a lot to lose if you close redevelopment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Kelly. I'm with the Pacific Companies. We're developers of affordable housing. We have about 5,000 units. We've completed over 100 projects. We're as far south as El Centro, as far north as Red Bluff. And I can say that there's no story that exists that says that affordable housing will continue in the state of California in any meaningful fashion if redevelopment agencies go away, if indeed that continues to be a policy here in California. I'll also say that, many of you already know this, that we do pay impact fees, substantial impact fees to school districts, to parks, to police departments and fire on all of our projects. And it's not uncommon for us to receive substantially less in redevelopment funds for our affordable projects than we pay in impact fees. And the last point I'd like to make is with respect to the potential shift or discussion of L&M funds, the housing authorities, or another mechanism, we work closely with city council members, planning departments, and the redevelopment staff on projects long before we have a financial commitment. Right now we have 21 projects in different stages of entitlements. We have $3.5 million out on pre-entitlement costs, and those are our funds, not pre-development loans from agencies. And if these funds are shifted to a new customer, we don't know who they are or what their ambitions or interests are. That's a sunk cost for us, and I just want to let you know that's a view from us.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Scott Nassif, Mayor, Town of Apple Valley. I'd like to say good afternoon, but I think it's more appropriate to say good evening. Thank you for listening to all the testimony this afternoon. I want to make just a couple quick points. You've heard of all the testimony regarding all the projects and all the good things that redevelopment has done, and our community is no exception. But in one area, we're in the Victor Valley area. 20 years ago, we had George Air Force Base closed, and we lost over 10,000 jobs, plus all the associated services that went along with that base. And we formed the Victor Valley Economic Development Authority, which was a redevelopment area that encompassed both Hesperia, Apple Valley, Victorville, County of San Bernardino, and City of Adelano. That was an important point I want to make, is that it was 12 years before we had any increment of property value increase to reinvest back in that area to create jobs. It was the local communities and local agencies that did the investment to create that increment of increase. Without investment, you would not have that increment for the state or for the budget to be looked at, to be taken away. So by taking away redevelopment or ending redevelopment agencies, you take away that investment, you take away that increase, and you take away that incentive to redevelop there. We're only about halfway to replacing those 10,000 jobs, and we hope that...
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members, Helene Meshar representing the City of West Hollywood. The City of West Hollywood is opposed to the redevelopment proposal and requests that you reject the governor's proposal. The city's redevelopment agency in the small city that we are, 1.9 square miles, manages to build 2 to 3 times the required state low-income housing for our community, and is a real reflection that the redevelopment agencies are the economic engines for all of our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Anthony Moscarelli, and I'm from Suisun City, California, and I'm for the governor's proposal. Suisun City, about in the 80s, had a vision of creating a beautiful downtown, and they went ahead and got redevelopment just for that area. They blighted it. But then they said, hey, I can get more money. So they blighted all of Suisun City except for about 5% at that time. And so now we can see where the blight is. It's where they can't do services anymore because of tax revenue. They don't have it. They don't have any general fund really revenue. So they have a big conglomerate redevelopment agency. So anyway, I just wanted to give you my point. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I believe I'm your...
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if it's a benefit or not going last, but please continue.
Whoops. Good evening. I'm Leslie Little. I'm with the City of Morgan Hill, and I'm glad to be your last speaker and to tell you that as our redevelopment agency, we've been a proud partner with our affordable housing advocates, with our public safety folks, with our local school district, and with our local safety net partners. We think it's in the state's best interest to allow us to continue to be a partner with those entities in our region and do that through local decision making. The City Council has adopted a resolution that urges you to oppose the governor's proposal.
Thank you very much. First of all, we had both the upstairs and the downstairs filled, so I want to thank all of you who stayed with us for some of you the full 5+ hours of the hearing. And I just have a few closing comments to make, and then I allow Senator Perea to make any comments if he would. But you know, early on in the enterprise zone discussion, some of the members talked about the state of Illinois that, despite its budget troubles, kept enterprise zones. What they didn't tell you is the state of Illinois also increased its personal income tax rates 66% and its corporate income tax rates 45%. And if we were able to do that, we wouldn't be here today because we would have money to actually add programs instead of worrying about making the horrific cuts that we're looking at. But the reality with the state of California is we've gone from a high of somewhere around $107 or $108 billion in general fund revenue to about $86 billion this year. And we have a structural deficit of $25.8 billion. And that means that we have very painful choices to make. When you take a look at the budget over the last 10 years and where we've gone, we've budgeted and we've borrowed and we've used all the gimmicks we can, and we're short of them. And you can take a look at the major stressors on the budget. One is our prisons. Our prisons have gone from taking $2 to $3 billion a year to over $10 billion a year. That's well over 10. That's over 10% of our budget. The pension growth, don't need to talk to you about that because you can read about it in the editorials in the paper every day. But the other major stressor on our budget is debt service. And if you look at California's general obligation bond indebtedness, I had staff call down to the Treasurer's office. We currently have in outstanding general obligation bonds. We have more that have been approved and not sold yet. We have current indebtedness of about $80 billion. What's happened with general obligation bonds is they've gone from about 2% of the budget in the 80s to 4% in the 90s. They're about 6.75% now, and they're going to go up to about 11%. If you take a look at the redevelopment bond obligations, that is currently, when I wrote down the number, $93 billion, higher than the outstanding general obligation bonds for the state of California. And the percent of property taxes increment it's taken has grown from 4% in 1984 to 12% today, and will continue to grow. That doesn't mean that redevelopment isn't good, but it means that just like all the other areas of the budget that keep growing and taking away money from education, health and human services, public safety, and other programs, we have to decide where our priorities are. When you look at the governor's budget as well, it's very clear that no area has been spared cuts. You know, education, as was mentioned earlier, has taken more in percentage cuts than its percentage share of the budget. It has taken over $9 billion in cuts, and having been on the school board for 18 years, I know how devastating that is to our schools. We're looking at another $500 million in proposed cuts this year to the UC system, $500 million to community college or to state colleges. We're looking at cuts to community colleges. I've been in my office today and Thursday with people who are bemoaning the cuts proposed to in-home support services, where we're talking about seniors who need help to be able to live in dignity in their own homes. So clearly no part of the budget has been spared. And I believe, you know, when you take a look at the governor's proposal for enterprise zones and redevelopment agencies, none of us like it, but everything has been put on the table. What I do hope, however, is this is not the end of the conversation, but the beginning. We all know that it's important to revitalize cities and areas of blight. We all can give stories of redevelopment projects that have had a profound impact on our communities and improved our quality of life. So we need to move forward with this budget, because if we do not get the temporary revenues on the ballot for June and pass those, that's $8 billion. The cuts, I don't even want to think about what they're going to look like, but they're going to be even more devastating. I think we'll get a glimpse as our schools plan their budgets, because every district I know is planning its budget on the worst case scenario, because it has to enter into contracts with its teachers and some of its other employees. But I believe the discussion needs to continue, because the governor has stated he wants to find a way to make redevelopment work and continue, but it has to change. So I hope all of you will partner with us, you know, and we will work with the legislature, the administration, the League of Cities, redevelopment agencies. We will work to find a way to allow this program to continue. It may not be in exactly its same form, but it will be able to continue so that we can keep doing good things in our community. So once again, you know, I want to thank all of you for coming. We face some very difficult decisions. I know all of you who sit on boards that are elected and sit on boards where you have to make these difficult budget decisions, go through some of the same things that we're going through here. But I hope ultimately we're able to make the best decisions for all the people in California. We're able to have stabilize our budget and where we are, and we're able to start to rebuild the state so it's one that will provide opportunity to all of us. So with that, I'll allow Senator Perea to make any closing comments if you would like.
Sure. I just have a 45-minute speech I'd like to read, if you don't mind. No, I just want to...
Set the timer.
I'll take my 30 seconds right now. Just wanted to, first off, compliment you and thank you on doing such a great job in putting this hearing together and working with Rev and Tax to hold such a well-attended hearing. And I want to thank everybody who came out here today. And I saw a few faces from my district out in Fresno and Tulare County. I want to thank you for being here and being a part of this hearing. And I just want to echo the comments and agree with my colleague, Ms. Buchanan, that this really is just the beginning of the conversation, but it's going to be a tough conversation. We're going to have to talk about what redevelopment looks like moving forward. Again, I know the value of redevelopment coming from a city hall, and I know the good things that redevelopment agencies do. And that's why I am very interested in looking for a third way, looking for an opportunity for us to deal with our current budget crisis, but at the same time allow cities to move forward in a manner in which they can still use their RDAs to create jobs, remove blight, and provide a stronger quality of life for all of our constituents. So having said that, just want to say that my office is always open. We're right down the hall here on the 4th floor. Please feel free if you have any thoughts, suggestions, ideas on what we do to move forward. the door is always open, and I encourage you to come visit us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The meeting's adjourned, and I want to thank the members who stuck it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey.
I'm heading up. I've got someone driving me over. I'm going to go to the basement and hop in. No, I didn't have lunch.